But if you're a small company and you're looking at how to navigate regulations in lots of different global economies, that's a huge investment. And the reality is many small businesses choose not to export globally because they just can't afford to invest that amount of time looking at that regulation. So what we're trying to agree is basically, if you're a small business here in Montana and you've met all the levels of regulation that you're expected to do as a small business owner in Montana, that you can export to any European Union country, because we know that those standards in the state of Montana are absolutely fair and right.
Yeah.
And if I may just pick up on your point around concerns around free trade agreements, again, I think this particular trade agreement is quite different to others that perhaps the US has engaged with globally in the past. Fundamentally, because you're looking at two very similar groups of economies. You're not looking at economies where actually the labour markets are particularly cheaper in one country or the other.
Right.
You're not looking at economies where actually the goods are particularly cheaper in one country or another. You're looking at two very comparable groups of developed economies where actually there isn't that risk out there that we're all going to outsource to one part or the other. That's just not part of the equation because of the state of the economies. Actually, we're looking genuinely at the opportunities for trade and the economic growth that would come with these opportunities for trade.
Yeah, well, you know, as you're speaking, I'm imagining myself, I often do this, pretend I am a small business person, an entrepreneur. And I love the concept of, okay, I've got a new idea, I've got a product or a service that's innovative, and it takes some startup initiative and risk and borrowing money and all that. But if I can think about selling this in the UK and then across the EU from the get-go. You know, in other words, it's not something I have to wait 10 years to accomplish. I can just start that in my business plan. And I think that's going to be refreshing. I mean, that reality has got to be refreshing to genuine entrepreneurs in our state, especially the younger people who are associated with these research programs at the university that you spoke of earlier. Yeah. There's a lot of commercialization of research going on all over the world, as you know, but people are really keen on that in Montana. Yeah. So that sounds very exciting. Now, we don't have much time left, and I don't want to divert us completely, but I want to return just briefly to another question of political significance, because a lot of people in the U.S., and especially in Montana, I think I mentioned to you the first time you were here, there's a lot of Scottish fans, you know, people who have been to Scotland, they like to pretend they can speak Scottish dialect. There's Scottish music, so there's a huge fan club for Scotland.
You can include me in that list too, don't worry.
Yeah. And you know, the Scottish people are going to vote in September, I believe, of this year.
September the 18th.
Whether or not to remain part of the UK or to split off and become an independent country. It's very controversial, it's very interesting, you know, intellectually it's very interesting. What are the benefits that they might enjoy? What are the risks and costs that they might have to suffer, the people? There's all kinds of polling on this, so it's not a done deal one way or the other. I think the polls show that there's still a majority of people in Scotland who would prefer to remain. In the UK, it's risky because, you know, to leave the mother country, especially when they have a substantial amount of autonomy now, there's oil to live off of and enjoy now or in the future. Anyway, I don't want to garble this up, but give us just your official view. I know you're a government servant, and we're not having cocktails at the pub right now.
Pints of beer is what we call it in the UK.
What can you tell us about, you know, your perspective on the Scottish referendum?
So, as you rightly said, the Scottish National Party, which is the party that came into power in Scotland under their devolved administration, had as one of its electoral commitments that they would put on the table a vote on independence from the United Kingdom. Now, I'm sure all your viewers will know that Scotland has been part of the United Kingdom for 300 years. And as the UK, we do have 4 constituent parts, really, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and England. And then we have the Westminster Parliament, which is the national parliament that oversees all of the United Kingdom. So there will be a vote happening on September the 18th, and that vote will be an in-out decision. It was very clear that in the run-up to the negotiations on what this would look like, it was always going to be an in-out decision. In terms of the broader British government's perspective, well, the British government has always been clear that it was the right of the Scottish people to have a vote, and there's never been any question about that from the British government's perspective. But we are also clear that the Scottish people are better off together, better off as part of the United Kingdom, and also that the United Kingdom is better off for having Scotland in it. So there is a campaign happening at the moment in the United Kingdom where there is a group of cross-party activists who are trying to put out that message to the Scottish people. But ultimately, as you rightly say, we'll have to wait till September the 18th to know the outcome of the vote.
Yeah. Well, I would love to go on and on with this topic because it's fascinating and it raises so many questions about the future of nations and nation states, and the current constructs of the world map are changing, as we know, sometimes under forceful situations, as in Crimea with Russia and Ukraine, but also in peaceful situations. There's a question in Catalonia in Spain, very similar to the Scottish question. So it's just endlessly fascinating, but we don't have enough time, I'm sad to say. So in our last little exchange, we'd love to know a little bit more about what we Montanans might do to draw more British people to our, I was going to say our shores, but we don't have any shores, to our beautiful countryside. You know, why do British people come to Montana, and what can we do to get more of your fellow citizens here?
Well, I have to say, I think your tourist authorities do a fantastic job about selling Montana in the UK. Montana is very much on the horizon of UK tourists. They love the idea of what you have to offer here. The beautiful scenery, the amazing mountains, the hunting, the fishing. It's really very, very appealing for British tourists. So I would say keep up the good work, and you will see more and more British tourists coming here to enjoy what you have to offer. It's really an amazing state.
Thank you very much. We will enjoy those visitors as they come. And thank you, Priya, Guha, for coming back and seeing us again here at Helena Civic Television.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to coming back again.
All right. And thank you for watching Global Civics. We'll see you next time.